Hi guys, Matt Easton here. More training tips for the longsword, although this particular one applies to basically all swords. So thrusting. Very simple, 2 points I'm going to make. First point is, so if we take a point forward guard, this is posta longa in Fiore's system, or Langort in the various German treatises. Okay, so I'll just show from the side there. My arms are extended, a little bit of bend in the elbows because for a start, you never want to lock out the elbows really, because that way injury lies, but also having a bit of flex in the elbows makes your arms a bit more limber. It means you've got extension if you need it, but equally it's a bit more limber if you need to suddenly defend or move the sword suddenly. Okay, if the arms are locked out, it makes them kind of slow, more vulnerable. So, I'm in posta longa. If I'm going to thrust, and again if we move back to this side position here, if you look at my hands, rather you can't see the point I don't think in the video at this point, if you look at my hands, if I thrust someone, I generally only want to make about that much movement, okay, about 6 inches. And something that a lot of people do in all styles of fencing, because we're using blunt weapons and because we're using usually flexible weapons, is they over thrust. They move the sword through a lot more extension than they really should be doing. So if you are using a flexible blade, you should only be seeing a very slight flex in the blade when you thrust someone. Okay? Why? Essentially because you don't want to run the sword too far into someone. Once you've run your sword into someone's torso or head or throat or wherever you're aiming, there is only a certain amount of damage that blade will do. It makes a hole, say that big, and keeps making a hole that big if it goes further through. If it's sticking out the back of them and you run the blade right the way up the hilt, it's not going to do any more damage. And you'll have your sword stuck in their body, which is clearly not a good thing. Which leads on to my second point, and that is a lot of people, if I go kind of diagonally so you can see a bit better, a lot of people practice thrusts, boom, as only forward. They go forward, stop. Whether they're doing sabre, rapier, small sword, long sword or whatever, they tend to practice boom, and then they stay on the lunge for a long time. Very, very important. Remember, you've got to pull your sword out of that person, okay? And again, with blunt, flexible training weapons, you can push the blade into someone and it will flex, and you can actually then move it sideways and it will come off the person's jacket or mask. You cannot do this with a sharp sword. If I've just pushed my blade into someone's body, I can't move it anywhere until I pulled it back out again. Okay? My weapon's essentially almost useless because it's my point, 6 inches of it, or however many inches, is stuck in their body. Okay? And with something like a head, bone is quite grippy stuff. So if you've stuck your sword into someone's face, you need to pull it out again. It's morbid, but that's the truth. It's a martial art we're practicing, so you've got to consider these things. So, first point is, don't over thrust. Boom, that's enough to put 6 inches of blade into someone's body. Okay? So cross, bam, thrust. And remember, after you thrust, pull back out again. Very, very important if we're practicing a martial art to train like we're training with sharp weapons. Okay? Otherwise we're just doing yet another combat sport. Okay? So, push in, only a little bit, pull out. End of video. Cheers.